Should be live now. But the Boston Celtics have just raised banner number 18. They are NBA champions. Jaylen Brown is your finals MVP in this one. They eliminate the Dallas Mavericks in game 5 of the whoa. How am I? Oh, that's
What
funny.
happened?
I had it open in the other tab, and so it started playing in my ear. I'm like, how do I hear myself? But Jaylen Brown is the finals MVP in this one. What are your initial thoughts? I want to start there with the decision for Jaylen Brown to be finals MVP.
I think it was well deserved. If I had to pick, I definitely would have voted Jaylen Brown. I think he was the most consistent throughout the entire series. But obviously, Tatum had his few games. Like he had a good game 5 here. Came on like later in the series, but just as far as consistently throughout, I think that Jaylen Brown was the most consistent offensively, and the task of guarding Luka the entire series. The amount of ball pressure he was putting on him, and the amount of times he got him uncomfortable, was frustrating him, was just had the defensive intensity up. I think to take on that challenge on both sides of the ball, I think that was huge. So I think just throughout the series, I think he was the most consistent Celtic.
Mm-hmm.
Because in reality, it could have went a couple different ways. Like I could have seen a world where because Tatum had this really good game here, that he ends like not steal it, but he kind of won it. I could have seen a world where Drew Holiday won it because I felt like defensively he was a menace the whole series. Offensively, as far as like his off ball movement, his playmaking, his offensive rebounds, his hustle, like he was also had a huge impact. So I see a world where all three of them probably could have won it, but like I said, the most consistent Celtic I felt like was Jaylen Brown, so I'm not mad at it.
Definitely, definitely. If you in the stream, you watching it on YouTube right now, be sure to drop a like on the stream. Helps us out a ton. But I could not agree more with what you said. I had Jaylen Brown as my pick for Finals MVP. I think I posted a video after Game 3. I don't know what really could have changed that to take it away from him. Besides the series really getting drawn out and Tatum would have to really erupt in those games for that to have happened. I would say this is definitely Tatum's best game of the finals. I think the playmaking and defensive impact that he's had the entire series was still there. I might say his playmaking might have even taken a step up in this one. And then you knew it was going to happen at some point. The shot started to fall for him. Super efficient game. I loved, again, the aggression. I still think his shot diet is a little frustrating to watch at times. I think he settles more than he needs to. But hey, if he's settling for the three and they drop, you can't complain. But the biggest thing, like you said, I think that Jaylen Brown was the most consistent Celtic, and that was key for them this entire series. I think you could make an argument that his defensive impact was up there with a guy like Drew Holiday's, in the same tier. I probably give Drew the slight edge, but Jaylen Brown, especially in this game, was hounding Luka all the way up the court, 94 feet. He had multiple defensive plays, steals, blocks, forcing turnovers, the hustle plays, crashing for the glass. And then on the offensive side of the ball, in every single game was probably one of, if not the most aggressive Celtic at getting downhill, getting into the paint, and finishing at the rim, as well as being able to score from the mid-range, knock down the perimeter shots, and was one of the most clutch Celtics in this series as well. So I think 100% was a well-deserved Finals MVP. I really think him, Tatum, and Drew Holiday all have fair arguments to win it. But Brown was my pick, and you're not going to see any issues with JB getting Finals MVP here.
Santos said Mavs in 9.
They still got time, bro. They heading back to Dallas right
They
now.
going to Dallas. I'm about to say
right.
they going to Dallas, bro. It's all good. They got a chance. But yeah, no, I completely agree.
I do want to just kind of, as we break this down, I want to go through all the major storylines. And where I want to start here is the fact that, and I didn't even know this until I mentioned on the broadcast, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum had played the most playoff games as a duo without winning an NBA championship until tonight in Game 5. What do you think that this means to them and for the Celtics to have really stayed the course, not bought into the criticism that they needed to break up this duo, and for them to finally see it through? And now have them on top as NBA champions?
I think it's well, obviously it's great. It's great for the Celtics and it's great for Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, I think is good for them just because of all of the noise between everyone saying that look, y'all can't win it together. You need to break them up. Like they don't fit together. They're not gonna win. They're never gonna win a title together. They're not gonna reach their true potential together. Just saying that they just overall just won't get over the hump. So I think it's good for them to just kind of get that monkey off their back because obviously they're both talented enough to do it, and with the right team around them, like they were always there, they were always knocking on the door. But they could never just finally complete the task. So obviously that's a great feeling. You've seen it after the game with Jason Tatum, like he's crying, he's like letting all the emotions out because, bro, you're human. Like you hear the noise, whether you want to try your hardest to block it out or not, you still hear everything. So to finally win it and can kind of put to bed that kind of we can't win it together type of narrative will be great for him. For the Celtics, overall great because you did it the right way. I mean, you drafted two guys, you built a team around them. You didn't listen to the outside noise and the outside pressure of, man, maybe we should trade one of them because right now it's not working, even though these guys are 22, 23, 24. Like these guys are super, super young. But to not like fall into the pressure and to really stay the course, like, look, we're banging on the door. Like these guys are still young. They're still not at their peak potential yet. They're not even in their primes yet. We just got to stay the course, build good teams around them, and eventually we'll get there. So the fact that they stayed the course and actually didn't listen to the outside noise, like I said before, is great for them because it's like I said, you don't have to deal with those narratives of they can't win. Tatum can't win as the best guy. Is Jaylen Brown better? Like you're not. Well, that part is probably always going to be
Yeah.
there. You're not gonna get. Oh, sorry. Him winning the
Yeah.
MVP might have made that worse, honestly. But
It
that's
definitely did.
yeah. But you're not. Those are whatever. Don't listen to those. But just the narrative is they can't win it together. That is at least put to bed.
100%. You have to give a ton of credit to Brad Stevens, going from a head coaching role, never been in the NBA front office at all, takes over as the president of basketball operations, goes out, trades for Derek White, goes this offseason, trades for Drew Holiday, trades for Kristaps Porzingis, and puts together. You can say it with 100% certainty now. It's really not a debate. The best team in the NBA this season. To a lot of people on paper was the most talented team. They continue to show that the entire season, and showed it this playoffs. 16-3 in the postseason en route to a championship. 8-1 between the conference finals and the NBA finals. Only losing 3 games in the entire postseason is rare. I think they have 80 total wins on the season. Not too many teams have ever done that before. Whether people are going to like to admit it or not, this was one of the most dominant NBA seasons from start to finish in NBA history for a team to go out and win 64 games and then go into the playoffs and go 16-3. It's just dominant. You want to make the arguments that they played against injury-riddled teams, they played against soft competition in the East, whatever. All of that can be well and good, but it's all out of the Celtics' control. And they handled business on the biggest stage tonight in Game 5. To get directly into this game, Jason Tatum, like we mentioned, played so much better. 31 points from him, 11 assists, 8 rebounds. Jaylen Brown also gives you 21, 6 assists, 8 rebounds. They both had 2 steals. Just a phenomenal performance from that duo. Another guy that we do have to talk about, who played fantastic all series, I think played even better on the defensive end than I could have expected out of him. In his 17th NBA season, Al Horford is finally an NBA champion. How are you feeling about Big Al finally getting a ring after all those years in Atlanta and Philly, or Atlanta to Boston, right? Then to Philly. OKC is in there somewhere. People forget that happened.
Right? Didn't he leave
Just a
Boston and
journey
come
for
back to
him.
Boston?
Yeah, he left Boston, and because Philly signed him because he was the Embiid stopper. And then that just didn't work out between the two of them. Ends up back in Boston, really revamped his play style, became a stretch big, and continued to be a very, very high value starter for what is now an NBA championship team, and Big Al gets his ring.
Yeah, no, it's good for him, man. It's definitely good for him. Like you said, excuse me, like you said, the fact that I believe he was second all time in people or playoff games played without
Yeah.
winning a ring.
Only to he who shall not be named. I'm glad
Yeah,
he don't got one ring to show for it.
yeah, that's facts. But
Yeah, but he need to be in jail.
yeah, that's a story for another day, but facts. But nah, man, like I said, it's good for him because he finally is able to win that championship because it's the difference between winning a championship and getting there so often, or at least getting to like deep in the playoffs or in the playoffs, Eastern Conference Finals, like knocking on the door for so long and then not getting it is probably way worse than just you flat out just not winning the ring. So for him to finally do it, is great for him. The fact that he had to take that long journey, like you said, was kind of a journeyman, bounce around a little bit. But the biggest thing I'd say is the amount of sacrifice that he was able to do for the team. Obviously, team bringing in a guy like Kristaps, he's saying, "Look, I'll come off the bench. You know what I mean? I'll do whatever it takes to win the championship. I'll do whatever it takes for the team." Being that veteran leader over there, obviously had a big impact on like Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. Like Tatum even said it. I think he said it was like his favorite teammate of all time. Like just doing whatever it takes to win. So for him to finally get that ring is you got to be happy for the guy.
And look, you bring up Kristaps for a guy who was lost in a sense, I think, in a lot of people's eyes, right? Like what he had in New York, the talent was there. Injury concerns obviously came up. It doesn't work out in New York. He goes to Dallas. That fit is not good. They have him sitting in the corner. He feels like he can provide more. Him and Rick Carlisle didn't seem to get along the best. His game didn't match up the best with Luka. He gets sent away to basketball purgatory in Washington, where he quietly really becomes a more complete basketball player than we've ever seen from him. A lot of it flies under the radar because not a lot of people are tuning into Washington Wizards basketball. And then Brad Stevens pulls a trigger at the trade deadline, or in the offseason, excuse me, trades for Kristaps Porzingis. And his impact for this offense to really unlock them. A lot of people kind of viewed him as an X factor of sorts, just the way that he could come in and really make them a truly lethal 5-out offense, which is how Joe Mazzulla likes to play. But for both of these additions, really for Kristaps and then a guy like Jrue Holiday, who now has his second ring, how big of an impact can you say that those offseason's acquisitions had on the Celtics being able to close out this NBA season as champions?
Man, it was everything. I think we said it instantly when Kristaps got traded there. Where it was like on paper back then. It was on paper like this team is like the best starting five in the league. It came to fruition, obviously, but a guy like Kristaps, the biggest thing for me, the reason why I was so confident even before I seen a single game of them playing together that it was going to be a good fit for him was the fact that it already, plays into their strengths as far as, like I said, playing the 5-out, being able to shoot threes, space the floor. It plays into that strength while bringing in extra rim protection and also bringing in some more versatility offensively to where if they need to, like the first game, right, where Kristaps was abusing mismatches, he was working in like the high post area, hitting that little turnaround midi. Like he just brings a different type of game for him. So the fact that he did all that, that's already huge in itself. And then when you bring a guy in like Jrue Holiday, who's already won a champion, and then is just a better Marcus Smart, like you're just bringing a guy who is better offensively, can shoot the three ball. As far as like I said, it seemed like he's always everywhere on the court, whether it's offense or defense. Offensively, it's like all right, he's flying in for offensive rebound, or he's like cutting to the basket, getting an easy layup. He's working the two-man game with Jason Tatum. He's making a good pass to the shooter. Like he's everywhere.
Bro, Jrue Holiday is what, 6'3", maybe 6'2", 6'3", and
It don't feel like it.
he was effective playing this series in the dunker spot, bro.
Yes, bro. Like he's so versatile, and then that's just on offense. On defense,
Right.
everyone knows what Jrue Holiday is on defense. A pest, a hound. Like he's getting strips. He's frustrating Kyrie Irving. Like I said, it was the perfect fit.
Yeah.
These two additions was the perfect fit because they allowed Boston to just play more of the way they want to play while adding different type of versatility. So it was both of the acquisitions was a match made in heaven, and it worked perfectly for him.
I think if you would have told me that a couple years ago, the Celtics have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. At that time, they have Robert Williams and they have the DPOY and Marcus Smart. And you would say that they would make moves that could make this defense significantly better. I would be like, well how? How?
That's true. Yeah.
Correct. They go out, they get Derek White, who turns into the best role player, arguably, in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, go out and get Drew Holiday. There's a case to be made that this could be one of the best defensive backcourts we've ever seen. Just in the two of them alone, I think Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have gotten better as defenders. You bring in Kristaps, who is a better rim protector than he gets a ton of credit for. Al Horford at 37 is still out here switching on to Luka Doncic and can get you some stops. He's going to slide his feet. I'm watching Sam Hauser come into the game, and he's making Luka work for every single thing. He's making Kyrie work, have to change directions for every single drive. This team was just so connected. You have to give a ton of credit to Joe Mazzulla. I know we said it a bunch, coming in as a guy who was not even supposed to be on the front of the bench as an assistant coach. He's a fourth assistant on the roster just a couple weeks before the start of the season, or training camp, excuse me. Turns out he's going to become the head coach, gets them all the way to the conference finals, and then in his first, I'll say, full season, obviously, because he gets the entire offseason to really get everything acclimated and set up how he would like, brings them all the way to the NBA finals and gets the job done in just 5 games. Where do you think this Celtics team can go from here? Because when you look at it, on paper, looking into the future outside of, Al, like these guys have a good amount left in the tank, especially when you're looking at their core of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Mazzulla is young. Brad Stevens is young too. Like, these are guys who can stick around for Boston for a long time coming. And I hate to be that guy to do this so early, but could this be the start of a dynasty for the Boston Celtics?
The only thing that worries me about it potentially being some sort of dynasty, and mind you, I'm not the biggest guy when it comes to cap and the was it second apron. I'm not too well versed in all that type of stuff. But from the little bit that I do know, it's very tough to keep these type of teams together if a lot of these guys are paid. Like, obviously Jaylen Brown has a huge contract, Jason Tatum's under contract. But I believe they did an extension for Drew Holiday. So if they can keep everything together, like I said, I don't know how the money and everything works really. But if they can keep this core together, it's definitely there's no reason for them to not be at least competing like this every year. Like, granted, they're not. I don't think they're going to be a 60-win team every single year. Obviously, injuries happen. Other teams get better. Other teams get healthier. So stuff happens from that aspect. But just as far as them having this core together, like you said, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum are not going anywhere. You already got Drew Holiday under contract. I don't know what Kristap's situation is, but I'm pretty sure they're kind of do whatever to keep.
I think he signed an extension. I think everyone is under contract for a couple more years.
Okay,
at least like their core guys.
Okay, so if the core is there, like I said, Al's probably gonna be going eventually. I don't know if he got another year in him. I don't know how that works. But the core is still here. They're always gonna compete. They're always gonna be here. They're always gonna be in the mix. And to me, the biggest thing will probably be injuries for them, really, because like, it's crazy to think about, because if they won so easily that no one really talks about it, like, they kind of beat everybody without Kristaps this whole playoffs. Like,
that's what I so many people were so quick to be like, well, they're not playing anybody. All these guys are injured. I'm like, they are missing one of their guys. They're just that deep, top to bottom.
Exactly.
They almost didn't need him. And it's not no slight at him. It's more so just to really have people understand and take a look back and see how ridiculously good of a roster this was.
Yeah, it's insane. So, like I said, that's the only thing to me. If Kristaps can stay healthy, because I don't think obviously like I said, other teams are going to get healthier to the point where I guarantee probably next year they'll be in series that they'll need Kristaps more. So hopefully they can stay healthy. But besides injuries, I don't see a reason why, at the bare minimum, they don't compete pretty much every single year they have this core together. Because it's an insane core. It's an insane roster. Like everyone just fits so well. It's like they have no reason to not be one of the best teams in the league next year again, and the years after that.
Yeah, I think there's a very good chance, and if I was a betting man, I would bet that this window with this core that they have, they're gonna find at least one more.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very, very special roster, and I don't think people are going to appreciate it as much in the moment. I hope it gets more recognition kind of as it years pass and it kind of hits to that nostalgia part of our brain where we look back on this team and somebody who wasn't thinking about it in the moment is really going to be like, man, they had Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Chris Stapps, Al Horford, Sam Hauser going crazy, Payton Pritchard going crazy. Like, this was a team, bro.
It's like that now. I mean, when you think about it, like, and I've been victim of this a little bit this year too, as well, just because you get so used to them kind of failing, if I'm just being honest, like knocking on the door and coming up short. That like they've been this good all year. Not kind of, they've been this good all year. They've been
100%.
like hiding in plain sight all year, but like we're like, oh, the Timberwolves, oh yeah, they're about to win it. The Mavs, oh yeah, they're like Denver's gonna repeat. Like no one really, not no one. I don't want to say that, but like a lot of people like were kind of doubting them. Not even just like in this final. I'm just talking about in general, like in the playoffs. So it's like they won 60 something games. They were dominant all year. They were blowing teams out. They were running through the like they've been hiding in plain sight all year, but it's just now that now majority of everyone's looking like, okay, this team was actually this good. Like they didn't just have a good regular season, like they're actually this good. So I see what you mean, because definitely looking back, especially if they win like another one, we're gonna be like, wow, like that team was really, really stacked to the point where we're like, all right, where does this team rank as far as like other all-time teams? You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
On that note, I do want to kind of put a bow on the Maverick season. And it, to me, if I have to boil this series down to one thing, it's the biggest talking point that I had coming into it is that you were going into a series where you had the best player versus the best team. And I would say probably far more often than not, the best team is going to come out on top in those circumstances. And this series was no different. I think Luka probably has a case to have been the best individual performer in this series, and it wasn't even close to enough. Um, he at times felt like he was playing by himself. I already went on a pretty big rant about how I think him towards the end of game three really, unfortunately, single handedly kind of cost the Mavericks their last shot at this series with some of those late fouls and just his antics in that game with the refs as a whole. But even if you take that away, they don't win game four without him. They aren't even remotely close to sniffing the finals without Luka Doncic. So you can't, put all that blame on him without understanding that they don't get even close to this point without him. But it just goes to show that no one man can do it by himself. And that's been proven time and time again. We've seen, or in the past, we've seen guys like LeBron get to the finals and get the brakes beat off of him by a superior San Antonio team when he was a young star in this league, already entering, best in the league conversations that Luka is. The roster around him just was not up to par. Obviously, he had to go to Miami to win those first couple of rings. I don't think we'll see that for Luka at all. So I don't want people to think I'm making that same kind of connection. But it just goes to show that it has to be a top tier roster around such a high, value superstar like Luka Doncic. And I think the Mavs were just beaten by a better team. It's unfortunate I shouldn't even say unfortunate because it almost diminishes the type of defensive performances that the Celtics have. But they obviously did a great job of limiting the Mavericks role players from shooting. Very quiet series from guys like PJ Washington. Tim Hardaway Jr. was outside of the garbage time in game 4 was irrelevant the entire series. He had already fallen out of the rotation there. You had flashes from Derek Lively and Derek Jones at time, but again, they were not enough from top to bottom offensively and defensively. They just were really overwhelmed when the Celtics were able to get hot from the 3-point line, and everybody was overwhelmed by the Celtics when they were able to get hot from the 3-point line. They lost one game this year when they shot over 40% from three, and they shoot more threes than anybody else. It's a numbers game. If the Mavericks were going to win this series, they had to capitalize in game 2 when the Celtics shot poorly, and they had to capitalize in game 3 when they were able to cut a 21-point deficit to 3. Those are going to be, I think, the two most pivotal things that is going to leave a sour taste in a lot of Mavericks players, but also a lot of Mavericks fans' mouths as they kind of look back on the season and this series in particular. But for a guy like Luka, he has to take this and learn from it. Tatum and Brown had to take going against Golden State and getting so close and losing in 6. They took it, they learned from it, and you saw that increased determination throughout this entire postseason run because they knew what it meant to really get there and not be able to say that they did it. So I would not be surprised if we see Luka come out with a renewed hunger, even crazier than we both think the MVP level season he had this year. But I know I just ranted for a little bit. I do want to get your thoughts on the Mavericks, postseason run and kind of just the outlook for them as they bow out here in 5 games in the finals.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. I think that a lot of the series for the Mavs was, I mean, obviously one, I think they just lost to a better team. But I really do think that it was a lot of missed opportunities. Like you said, they had chances where if the other team is better, right, that means you need some breaks. Like you have the advantage of having the best player in the series. But to beat a better team, you need some breaks to happen so that when they're shooting poorly or you're going on runs, you need to be able to capitalize on that. Or when you're in close games, you need to be able to actually get those games on your side versus losing those type of games, like Luka fouling out or just going on that 20-point whatever it was comeback. It was, to me, it was just missed opportunities, right? Like the Mavericks weren't able to play their brand of basketball for most of the series. And credit to, like I said, the Celtics defense really kind of flustered them a lot. So yeah, I just think overall it was just missed opportunities for the Mavericks. But the biggest thing, like you said, the fact that they got to learn from it. They got to come back, especially a guy like Luka, because he's still young. He's still like 25 years old. Like we talk about it all the time. It feels like you don't win your first ring until you're 27, 28. Tatum, he was 26, but he's been in the league since he was like 14. It feels like. So yeah, you just got to come back and learn from it. Obviously improve, obviously build the roster a little bit better because I feel like the biggest thing when we were talking about before the series, like giving predictions, was the fact that if like Luka and Kyrie don't go off, I believe you said if Luka and Kyrie don't go off, their chances of winning are slim. And you literally seen it. Like a guy like Kyrie had pretty much every game in Boston was a bad game for him, which was you're not gonna win like that. Luka in some of the fourth quarters because he was getting hunted on defense, worn down, and he was having bad endings of games. And then certain games he just had flat out bad games. Like this one, I don't think he played good in this game at all.
No, there's a point in the game where between game 4 and game 5, he was 1 of 21 from 3. He did not have a good game in this closeout game at all.
Yeah. So I thought they was gonna play better. I thought at least I can know what I can get from Kyrie and Luka, but like I said, credit to Celtics defense. Like they played great. They played great, fantastic team defense on them. But the biggest thing, like I said, is just gonna be learning and improving from this experience because a guy like Luka has to realize, all right, look, if we're gonna make it this far into the postseason, or if we're gonna play really good teams, like they're gonna be smart and they're gonna try to hunt me when I'm on defense. So I had to be prepared for that. You don't got to be an all NBA level defender, but you at least need to be someone who, like Steph, right? Steph at one point in his career was like atrocious on defense, like
Mm-hmm.
absolutely terrible. And he never got to the point where he was elite, but he did get to the point where it's like I'm not an absolute liability. Like I'm
Yep.
gonna give effort. It's funny because we saw flashes of it this postseason, like with Luka. It was like in other series, it was like, okay, he's sliding his feet, he's giving effort.
You even saw it in Game 4.
Yeah, like you've seen it in spurts, but it has to go to an even another level, whether that's conditioning, so you're not getting tired, or whatever it may be. But you do have to improve on that aspect. So yeah, like I said, I think they're gonna learn from it. I think they'll always be in the mix, especially when you got a guy like Luca. Um, you'll always be in the mix. Kyrie's still gonna be there. A guy like Derek Lively, who's only gonna improve because people forget he's still a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully he had that 3 ball because that the 1-3 he hit, that form was
Do you
nice.
know that was his first 3 of the year?
Yes, that which is crazy to shoot that in the
First 3
finals.
attempted, not made,
Oh, I thought
attempted.
that's
That was
insane.
the first time he ever shot a 3 in his NBA career, and it was in the NBA Finals.
And it was cash too. The
Cash.
form was nice. He had a 3 ball to his game. It's over. It's over. He got some he could pop and not just crash to the basket. It's over. But yeah, I think they'll improve on it. Obviously they'll be back as far as being in contention. But reality, at the end of the day, you just lost to a better team.
Yeah, I only had 2 more things to really bring up on the Maverick side of things, and you brought up one of them in Derek Lively. I do want to say I've been so impressed with his play this entire postseason. In the finals was no different. I think he is going to be such a good playmaker. Obviously, we already know what he can do as a screen and roll guy. Know what he can do on the defensive side of the ball. You mentioned if that 3 ball is really what it like, just if that one shot, that's a one shot sample size. I need some more of that.
For real.
Like you said, the form was good. Was buttery. He took it with no hesitation. Either. That's what I like. Double taked when it happens. I was like, was that wasn't Derek Lively that just shot it? Shot clock wasn't even running down. Like
Nah,
he
he
just
meant to shoot that. It wasn't on no desperation. He pulled it.
yeah. So if that continues to grow, like the sky is the limit for him. I think he's already becoming one of my favorite young bigs to watch. Guy that I'm going to definitely be on the lookout for to have a huge sophomore season in Dallas. The last thing I did want to say, and you kind of already touched on it a bit, uh, Kyrie did not have the greatest series outside of game 3 where he dropped 35, wasn't able to get over 21 points. And even that was in the game 4 blowout, which is one of the biggest blowouts in NBA Finals history. Outside of that, 12 points in game 1 on 31% shooting, 16 points in game 2 on 38% shooting. And tonight, in an elimination game, game 5, he has 15 points, 9 assists on 31% from the field, 33% from 3. The biggest difference was the margin of error that these two teams had. If Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown didn't have a bad game, there was a lot of other people on the court. Derek White, Chris Stapps, Al Horford, Sam Hauser, Pritchard at times, guys who could come in, score, get their own buckets, keep your offense afloat. If Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving are not playing good basketball, there's almost no chance that the Mavericks can win. And we saw them lose games where so many things went wrong for the Celtics, but Luka and Kyrie weren't having this explosive offensive game, and that there was just not enough offense there for Dallas around them. So they'll have some tweaks to potentially make this offseason, but I don't think they need to do anything drastic. I think we saw, proof of concept this postseason that those two guys offensively can go out and play at the highest level on the biggest stages. I think they just need to make some moves around the edges if they want to get back to this position next year and seriously compete to look to get over the hump and be an NBA champion.
Yeah, 100%. I had faith in Kyrie too, man. I thought that if anybody, a guy who's been there before would have a good series. Unfortunately, didn't really come to fruition, especially coming off the Timberwolves series and seeing the hounding defense that they
Yeah.
played. Just gave me more confidence in a guy like Luka and Kyrie. But like you said, I think you really just got to give credit to the Celtics. Like it can't be like if Kyrie plays better or like there's a reason why he didn't play good because Drew Holiday and Derek White and
Mm-hmm.
everyone was hounding them all series. Even in games that Luka was doing good, it's still the ball pressure from Jaylen Brown was insane. The team defense, like at the end of the day, everything comes back to the Celtics just being the better team, and just playing better overall.
Couldn't have said it any better. Mr. 81, what's up? What's up in the chat, bro? Yeah, they are just the better team, top to bottom.
It's crazy, man. Crazy.
It's
Number
crazy
18.
that the season is over. This postseason was the outcome was different than I was expecting, but I went into it with very, very high general expectations for the parity, and I still think that lived up to the hype, because we saw drama, we saw the upsets, we saw Minnesota, Denver go 7. We saw a ridiculous series between the Knicks and the Sixers. We saw the Knicks and the Pacers battle it out. The Mavericks go on, I don't know if it's fair to say a Cinderella run, but just them having to go through OKC as the 1 seed. So many people, myself included, thinking that Minnesota was going to walk into the NBA Finals after beating Denver, and then them dominating Minnesota in that kind of fashion. And then to a lot of people, you included, picking the Mavs in this series. I think I saw that something like 70% or 80% of the public bets on, I think it was like FanDuel or DraftKings, was on the Mavericks to win this series. All the YouTube or Twitter polls, even after Game 4, I'm seeing 50% Mavs in 7.
See, a lot of that was like, so my reasoning, I even prefaced it by saying, I think the Celtics should win the series. I think that they're the better team. My reasoning was, I think Luka and Kyrie are going to go off. I think that they have a competent enough team around them and been playing good enough to where if it comes down to close games, that Luka and Kyrie can take it home. But I feel like a lot of people would just pick the Mavs because, one, they just don't like the Celtics and hate Tatum and the Celtics. And it was just emotion. Like, yeah, you want to see Kyrie, Luka. Like, you just want, like, that's what you want to see. You know what I mean? Like, there's a bunch of people that picked the Celtics but still was rooting for the Mavs. So I think that a lot of emotion went into it. I mean, so to see, like Mercedes wants to say, I hate the Celtics and I'm hurt as a Lakers fan.
Yeah. How you feeling as a Lakers fan, Dame?
So
Banner 18.
Oh, don't start that. Don't start that. They listen, man. They won a lot of those when it was black and white. Like, I don't want to hear that. But nah, reality, to me, I don't know. The older I get, the less I really care about like rivalries in basketball. Because in football, it's a whole different story. But in basketball, I don't know. Like the Celtics Lakers rivalry hasn't been to the level it was like when I was growing up. Like when they like 08, 09, like 09, I hated the Celtics. Like absolutely disgusted with the Celtics. Now, like I said, Tatum, I like Tatum as a player. I'm really not too upset, really, just because the older I get, like I said, the less I really care about rivalries. And it's not, the rivalries aren't the same. Like it's definitely not like Bird Magic. It's not like Kobe, Garnett, Paul Pierce, and them. Like it's not, Lakers and Celtics haven't even been going at it, really. You know what I mean? So to me, I don't really care too much. Obviously, you're gonna get the what does they call it? Title Town, best franchise, blah blah blah. Okay, I don't really care. Sure, you let Bill Russell carry out to 11 chips back in the 1800s. I feel like, but whatever. It is what it is. They at the end of the day, they can enjoy it. Like I said, they were the better team. They were the best team in the league this year, so they absolutely have the right to celebrate. Because all I know is if it was the Lakers, I'd have been talking crazy too. So you better get it off now.
Yeah. Santos right though. He said Lakers got 18 banners too, bro. 17 NBA championships, 1 in-season tournament.
There you go. Facts. Honestly, in-season tournament championship. First to ever do it.
Right. Inaugural champ, right?
You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Like one might weigh a little bit more. Who knows? But like I said, if all I know is if you're a Celtics fan, you better get it off now. Because if that was the Lakers, trust and believe, I'd have been talking crazy. Still was after 2020. I was talking crazy. So it is what it is.
Yeah. Mr. 81 said it was a fluke. Boston won a fake ass championship. See, I wouldn't go that far, bro. I wouldn't go that far. Because at the end of the day, people did the same thing with Denver last year, right? They cakewalked their way to the finals.
You
They
could put
were
an
a
asterisk
one,
on every finals.
but they were the 1 seed. Shouldn't you get the easiest path to the finals because you won the most regular season games? If you wanted an easier path to the finals, you should have won more games. You should have won 64 games so they could rest their starters so that their starters could be fresh and healthy going into the postseason. They didn't really play around with their food at all. I know we all gave them slack for some of their, you know, sputtering offensive moments, but again, that just you have to live with that type of live by the three, die by the three system. They're just gonna have games where they brick it up. And you can't knock them for saying that it was a fake championship. They beat everybody handily. No series went more than 5 games.
And like I said, I just think that you could put an asterisk on every single every single winner, bro. Like you can go year by year and put an asterisk on everything. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, bro, if you win, you win. They're going to wrong. Some of them are like, okay, it's warranted a little bit. Like 2019, do the Raptors really win if KD and Clay don't get hurt? Probably not. But like if I'm a Raptors fan, I
Right.
don't care. So it is what it is.
Yeah, you can only play what's put in front of you. I think I just don't like when the conversation becomes this, like it was a fluke. I would rather use it to prop up what are significant championship runs. Like when we talk about what Dirk did in 2011, like let's have the conversation be about that. When somebody really goes on a tear and is beating gigantic opponent after gigantic opponent. He took out the reigning champion, went out and took out the Heatles. Like that's a phenomenal legendary run. This wasn't a phenomenal legendary run because we didn't get to see them go up against fully healthy teams and have wars against what we thought would be Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like that didn't happen. But at the same time, you can't even just be like, well, they played around with their food and they had all these tight series. Like 5 games against Miami. The only game they lost, Miami made more threes than they did the rest of the games combined. 5 games against Cleveland, swept the Pacers, and then 5 games against Dallas. And 2 out of the 4 games that they won, they really just whooped up on Dallas bad.
I'd say 2 things. One, like I said, I agree. I think if you want to say like it wasn't like I said, a legendary run, like that's fine. Yeah, that's cool. I just wouldn't say like the ring itself was fake. The run just wasn't impressive. Like you said, like you can bring up this argument about like them going up against injured teams when you're kind of compare it. Like if you hear a Boston Celtics fan like, "Oh, this was the greatest playoff run ever," and I'm like, right, like relax
It's
a little
just
bit.
not. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And
But
that's okay.
which is I'm about to say, but like
Right.
like I said, I don't care who, bro.
I
don't
promise
care
you,
who we
Tatum,
beat.
all them people in the Celtics locker room, they could care less if they played a bunch of 5th graders to win the
That's
NBA
facts.
Finals. They are NBA champions. You literally can't take away from them now.
But and I also would say like, come on, they would have beat every team they played. They would have beat them fully healthy. Like they wasn't losing to the Heat. They wasn't losing to the Cavs. They wasn't damn sure wasn't losing to no damn Pacers. So, but I do like how I say 81. Talk about my Lakers. We win the chip next year, man. Facts. All in. JJ Redick. JJ Redick
and Bronny.
Yeah, JJ Redick. We're gonna draft. We're gonna draft Bronny. Bro, listen, we locked in, bro. We motivated. Banner 18. We're gonna tie it up, man. Then we're going back to back. We're gonna get Banner 19. Then LeBron. What's that? That's gonna be 6. Then he really gonna be we up. Nah, we up. I got the script.
Script writers, they get ready. They get ready to put
Facts.
it all together. Long storytelling. Call me delusional, but I bet if Lakers would have played Boston in the finals, we would have beat them.
Facts.
No, man. Y'all are sleeping on how good this Celtics team is.
Man, AR beat them by himself, bro. I don't care. I'm running with that forever. He dropped like 30 that game and was cooking everybody.
Was that game in Boston? Do you remember?
That game was it in Boston?
I was about to say, because white boy playing on that Boston court, that's a +5 attribute.
Yeah, he got powers that day. All the ancestors helped him out that day.
Larry Bird's spirit just take over in that arena, bro.
I'm dead. But nah, I mean, yeah, it was like you said, it was a really good Celtics team for sure. It was a really good team.
Yeah, they look.
The Tatum the narrative though. It's not.
It's gonna be nasty.
It's only worse because Jaylen Brown won Finals MVP. Now it's even worse. But it would have been bad regardless because if Tatum won Finals MVP, everybody would be like, he ain't deserve Finals MVP. He
It's
only won
lose. You just can't, bro. You can't please some people.
Yeah,
can't please some people. But love them, hate them, anywhere in between, bro. At the end of the day, you have to call them NBA champions. You got anything else you want to get off your chest before you wrap up this live?
Nah, man. Nah, I don't really got much to say. Hey, credit to the Celtics, man. They won one. NBA season's over. Now we ready for some Olympic hoops.
Olympic hoops. NBA draft is in 10 days. I read a report that said quietly, because this is the first offseason under the new CBA, they can start negotiating contracts now. So they said we might hear contract announcements tomorrow.
Wow. Okay.
Offseason might start hot and fast soon around a very interesting draft. There's already been buzz still that we might have some trades with some of these top picks, including Atlanta's number 1 overall pick being in play. We're going to keep covering all that. We might take a slight break because this is now our second NBA season cover. Feel me?
Sir,
out here doing it big.
Shout out Mr. 81, man.
Sure. You, him, Santos, we appreciate y'all rocking with us as always. If you haven't liked the stream already, make sure you get a like in before we end this live stream. But if you are watching, make sure you follow us to the socials there at the bottom of the screen. As always, I'm Billy That's Dame. Congratulations to the Boston Celtics, and we out. Peace.
Yes, sir.